Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Gemini energy, and we're going to do this 10 card spread, and then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because the energy is available for people to harness in a high vibe way or a more shadowy way, and everybody's at different maturity levels and different places in their life that they have the free will to harness it in a more high vibe way or not. And people can be tempted in their more worldly nature, which can just be pride, ego, lust, greed. But some people just are more immature, and that's where they're at. And maybe haven't learned to temper their ego or their more impulsive nature, or, I don't know, getting caught up in their head, maybe. Gemini is air sign energy. Uh, which can have to do with what our truth is and what we love. And some people love love. And, and other people get really caught up in their head about love. And people can't decide who they love. And so, anyway, this might be something that people who are a Gemini sun sign or have significant Gemini placements might particularly be dealing with or struggle with, but we all tap into Gemini energy, just like we tap into all the other zodiac signs. And if this is a major energy going on in Gemini energy collective, it can kind of affect us all to different degrees. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the trumpet card, which is fire sign energy, which because of the trumpet, kind of fire sign energy is Aries and Leo and Sagittarius, about kind of what we're inspired by, what we find victorious. And, some people can just be operating more from their ego and it can be all about them. It can all be about the ego and the image. And does this make me look more victorious? Does this get me more attention? Is this more about me? And other people in this picture, people are kind of like on a cliff top or a mountain looking down at the range and the plains and the water. Other people really did do some inner work, and they do really look at life differently. And they could be more inspired by being their authentic self, not making their life and letting their ego kind of run their life, and being authentically who they say they are, and from truth and love. And at the end of the reading, we have the mature man. And the way I read tarot is the masculine energies can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world. The feminine figures talk about how we really think and feel. So some people think I can just present myself, whether I'm male or female, that I'm this emotionally mature, stable, grounded, kind of more bold, brave, authentic, motivated by love type of person. But for some people, that isn't the truth. It's really their more egoic nature, how it benefits them, that kind of more drives them. And at the center of the reading, we have a card not showing itself. So, with some people in our life, some people that we are in relationships with, other people, we kind of can be acquainted with them, but we don't know them that well. Everybody could be trying to figure out how people harness this energy. And with some of the people we don't know, and we're, trying to figure out, do we harness this energy the same? Do we not? What is it? Ah, the wealthy woman. Some people who are shadowy, they want to get in relationships either with people who have money and status and image, or people who are very abundant, is what the wealthy card can mean. And wealthy woman can mean that people are very abundant emotionally. They're very loving, very giving, very nurturing. They put a lot of work and effort into growing and maturing things and making things stable and balanced and loving, right? And shadowy people like to be in relationships with people like that too. At least they think they do. Because if you're in relationships with people who are loving and encouraging and they're just and fair and they're not motivated by ulterior purposes, the shadowy people think, well, this is great. they're not being deceptive and manipulative like me. They're not being maybe more about themselves or more materialistically motivated. They really have hope and faith and belief and love. And so, you know, right now, some people are in more mismatched relationships. For others, they both are people who are who they say they are, more shadowy or more high vibe, right? And if they like being in relationships with people who are more on the same page as them, needless high vibe people are probably going to stay in relationships with other high vibe people. Shadowy people, that's where in their Gemini energy they could struggle because the snake card emotionally was Scorpio energy. And then this card reminds me of the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. You know, shadowy people might be in relationships with other people. They have a lot in common. They could both be more about the ego or the image or the money or the materialism or the status or the image, but maybe neither one of them are emotionally very authentic and loving and giving. So then it's kind of like, well, gee, this is kind of great. I'm kind of in a relationship with someone who's motivated and inspired by these same things that I am. But I kind of like, shadowy energy wants to be indulged in a relationship. They want it to be a little bit more about them. So even when they're in relationships with people who do like to indulge or make their life about whatever they make their life about, they kind of have a problem being in a relationship with them because at the end of the reading of the Sagittarius card can mean they're kind of more immature and they kind of like to be more about them. For the people who are kind of high vibe, friends, family, relationships, where both people are kind of more mature, those people put in work and effort with the occupation card to temper their more immature nature. We can all kind of get up in our head and wonder how this is going to work out and are we on the same page? And, we have to temper our more immature nature and in high vibe Sagittarius, be inspired to keep moving forward, focused on the bigger picture, and hopefully have learned lessons not to be deceived and manipulated by our more immature nature. And some people are doing that in friendships and relationships. But while we could have certain friendships and relationships in our life, we're always going to be dealing with new people too. And so then with those people, we're kind of trying to figure out, the shadowy people are trying to figure out if they can manipulate you and control you or intimidate you. And the high vibe people are trying to figure out if people are more high vibe or not. And so let's go see what's going on in Gemini energy. We have sudden wealth, the moon, and then we have a card not showing itself, which is the playmate. Well, for people who are in high vibe friendships and relationships and workplaces, those people could have taken some action. The masculine cards can represent people taking action. Again, when we go take action in the world and how we present ourselves is considered masculine energy because people don't know how we think and feel. Some people are who they say they are. They're very abundant in a lot of ways. They could be smart, Gemini air sign energy of intelligence. They could be abundant in a lot of ways, knowledge, information, resources, job skills, loving, stable, grounded. Those people could be having either be in something that's very stable and abundant and listening to their intuition, and they're not taking more immature action in their life. And as they're moving forward in their life, they're kind of listening to their intuition, is what the moon card can talk about people in their life who they think are kind of more immature and who really seems to be more authentic. And then we have the gift of money, which is kind of like a new beginning. And when we do this work within ourselves, the sudden wealth reminds me of Ten of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy. When we do this work within ourselves to be inspired, this could talk about getting balanced within yourself. And high vibe Virgo, high vibe energy in general is about being balanced within yourself. That I want to be who I authentically who I authentically feel I am inside. I don't want to wear a false mask. And so I've kind of done this work, and the moon can talk about looking at things that seeing through the illusion and working through our fears and our insecurities and seeing who in our life who is more authentic, who kind of encourages us in our life to love and believe in ourselves, who are the people who kind of would like us to be a more immature or self-indulgent or fearful or whatever energy, because that's the energy they're in, and then we kind of align with them and be willing to be in friendships and relationships with them or stay at that job. And you know um some people already did that. They already saw kind of who was who and what was what. And then they were willing to, when they detach from their more being maybe inspired by the world or living life a little bit more from their ego nature, which can just be fear, insecurity, defensiveness, more caught up in the world. When they decided, I'm not going to indulge my more immature nature, I don't want to repeat that old pattern, I want to move forward in life differently. That's when those people really, it's like a gift to ourselves of feeling, taking the lessons that we've learned, because that's what Virgo energy is also about. Taking these lessons that we've learned to kind of grow and heal and mature ourselves, and also stand up for ourselves emotionally, to stand up, we're not children anymore. And we need to learn to stand up for our own more loving, intuitive nature and what we bring to the table, and knowing our worth and value, and being inspired to take the lessons we've learned, to listen to our intuition, and see what needs to be closed out, because the tens can talk about the fact that you kind of completed a cycle, you kind of learned what you needed to learn at a certain phase of life, and you're ready to have this new beginning. The thing is, with these cards not showing themselves, there's some people in the world that don't know that you've done that inner work within yourself. They might view you as very abundant. The house card says Taurus, but it also reminds me of the Four of Wands, which, like fire sign energy, is Aries. People could probably see that you seem very abundant in a lot of different ways, maybe very stable. Uh, maybe some of them don't know you so well, but you seem to be motivated and inspired to put in this work and effort to bring a dream into reality. But the bird song, which is also um, Sagittarius energy, they could view you as someone who does seem to maybe be kind of motivated and inspired to put in work and effort to work cooperatively with others to bring a dream into reality, that you could kind of have a lighthearted, fun kind of energy about you, but they don't really know, if you're really kind of more immature. They don't really know, maybe if you're in a relationship with someone else. They might not really know if you're more emotionally, more materialistically motivated or love motivated. And just like you don't know that about other people, and you don't know whether they're male or female, if they're kind of more immature, emotionally manipulative, prideful, bossy, controlling, full of themselves, deceptive, manipulative. So, with some people, people are kind of feeling each other out, right? So let's continue on with the high vibe people. So the high vibe people have rejected their more immature nature, and they've rejected some people in their life that are more immature. Now, people who are more immature, who really haven't done the inner work emotionally to kind of free themselves from things that manipulate them and aren't really balanced, and they reject their more emotionally intuitive nature, and secretly invest more in operating from their ego nature. So in shadow, the masculine figures can represent the people are operating more from their ego. They can always think, I don't got to invest in listening to my intuition. I don't even want to listen to my intuition. Shadowy Aries energy can be that anyone can harness is, I think I can control this. And I might not want to listen to my intuition because their intuition could be telling them you're kind of being deceptive and manipulative and immature and operating more from your egoic nature, materialistic nature, fearful nature, immature nature. But they don't want to listen to that. So they ignore that and they say, nope, I'm going to present myself, male or female, as this very stable, abundant, kind of motivated and inspired by love person. I'm going to create this illusion that that's the truth of who I am. And I'm going to hide that I'm really kind of more immature, that I want to have a new beginning with people, but emotionally, it might be more for how it benefits me. The ego, the image, the money, the materialism, and I might really not invest much in myself to be aligned with my more emotionally intuitive loving nature. Like I don't think that's something worth investing in. So shadowy energy can be, I think if I put in work and effort, and with this card also reminding me of Aquarius energy, also air sign energy, I think I'm pretty smart. I think I can create this illusion about the truth of who I am, and then I can get someone to move forward with me in a relationship, and I can just kind of not really emotionally invest in it, not really have to work through my fear, my insecurity, my pride, my ego, my defensive nature, my immature nature. I'll just create this illusion I'm a more stable, grounded, loving person, and then I get to go indulge in another relationship. And they really don't think maybe they do need to heal and grow and mature themselves. They just need to find the right person to be in a relationship, which is kind of true. You don't have to grow and mature yourself, but there's going to be certain people that have probably already left their life. There's other people they probably worked with in a relationship and created that kind of illusion. And the other people in their life kind of felt deceived and manipulated. They thought they were really working with someone who was more mature. And then as time went by, they kind of realized the person was more immature, or they were more about themselves, or more about the ego, or the image, or the money is more of a driving factor in their life. And some of those people left. They're not able to indulge and get some other people to indulge them anymore because those people already left their life. And then the shadowy people would be trying to hide why those people left their life. And they're on to trying to manipulate someone new. And so long as the next person, you know, if they go get a new job, or if it's a supervisor or a boss or a workplace that's more shadowy, they'll create the illusion with the next person who tries to come work there. Or if somebody left a job, they'll go to a new job and try to create an illusion about what went wrong with the old job, just like some people, do that in friendships and relationships. And the shadowy people, it can be more about putting in work and effort to look like a shining star in the world. That can be the most important thing. Not really so much about investing in emotionally growing and maturing themselves. Just think that's not as important. The most important thing is that I have this certain status and image in the world, and people view me maybe as king or queen of the hill, like I have accomplished some goal in life. But you know people can make their life about that if they want. Different strokes for different folks. But Other people are motivated and inspired to grow and heal and mature themselves and kind of grow to their full potential. And part of that is, that we have to emotionally grow and mature ourself also. Aries energy is about the self, and high vibe people don't like it's we all want some of these things of the world, right? We all want stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life, like friendships, like relationships, like to, you know, some people like aren't willing to be in a job that they hate just because of the status or the image or the money. Other people stay in it, and other people are like, oh my God, I can't take it. And I can't stay in friendships and relationships with people where I feel like people are being bossy or controlling or deceptive, or I know I'm being shadowy. That in Taurus energy isn't the truth of who I am. And Leo energy can be about, do you feel proud of yourself? Do you feel, and Taurus energy, do you feel like you're acting with character and integrity? What about the other people? Do I want to be around people who are being deceptive and manipulative and bossy and controlling and stubborn and immature? Oh my God. Some people can put up with a lot more shit than other people can put up with. This is my day to day life. And if it's a job, I spend 8 hours of my life here. Do I want to be around people who are like that? Or would I rather be around people who've learned more lessons in life and seem to be a little more connected in with their intuitive nature about how to be good leaders in the world, how to work together with people cooperatively to bring a dream into reality, are encouraging and supportive and authentic and warm? I would rather choose that, but you know, kind of depends on what we think is most important. We have to make these decisions, with our free will, and Gemini is about our free will. And kind of emotionally, what we're more invested in is what we will invest our time, energy, and effort into. And some people want to repeat an old pattern, because the truth sets us free to live our life differently. But we actually have to have healed and grown and matured ourselves. We have to have looked at life kind of differently. We've had to look at what kind of manipulates us, or these ways of viewing life that we could think are just and fair that other people don't think is so just and fair. And if you're going to be in a more romantic relationship, it's supposed to be based on truth. That's high vibe Virgo and the Ace of Pentacles, and love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And for some people, that's not their truth. I do want to be in a relationship. I like to enjoy myself in a relationship. But I think I can hide the truth. And I think I can live more from my mind than my heart. But the thing is, other people do listen to their intuition. And when we're in relationships with people, we can buy into the illusion initially. We can take that job, get in that friendship, get in that relationship, get in that marriage, and we can be in it for quite a long time. Because initially, we're probably putting in a lot of work and effort, to work things out. The house card can talk about coming together with others in joy and celebration. And then the Taurus card energy can be about, trying to figure out if we kind of have some of the same philosophies of life and general themes of how we kind of view life, and things that we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. We're just trying to find people that, oh, I like doing that. No, you like doing that. And oh, I don't like doing that. No, I don't really like to do that either. We're kind of working through all these things, and we can be putting in work and effort to kind of bring a dream into reality. And initially, we can all be really inspired by it. Both people can be. But it's as time goes by that we could realize with some people that we harness these energies differently. One person could be a little more immature in their Sagittarius energy, and one person could be a little more, and in their fire sign energy and their Virgo and all those things. And the other person could be a little more inspired and curious about life and does kind of want to move forward in life, and like they've done before, where they work through issues and they shed some old ways of being to keep moving forward as part of the steps we take to kind of bring our dream into reality of growing and maturing ourselves. Learning lessons in life and seeing what should go and what are the good building blocks to keep moving forward with. But some of the other people are like, no, I kind of got to a certain point in life and I'm good. I want to keep doing this. I don't want, and I'm maybe not inspired to kind of put in work and effort to deal with some of those things I keep buried under the surface. And those things stop them then from willing to kind of be more bold and brave and confident to work through their mental conflict about being more inspired to move forward in life, like letting love and intuition guide them. It's outside, it's like new territory. Just like when we were young and like, well, I got to quit being more like an 18-year-old and I got to start putting in work and effort to be more like a 21-year-old. And I need to discontinue some of those old ways of being and ways of viewing life and indulging myself and face my fear. And some people kind of thought, might have done some of those things when they were young, but they could have always had kind of a Aries energy, can kind of be a dream that we had, and Pisces of the moon card can be a dream that we had of how we envisioned our life. And some people were like, yeah, I had to do some of those things like everybody did growing up. I couldn't stay a 15-year-old forever or an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old forever. But my idea of the dream life was that I was maybe going to put in this work and effort to have a certain status and image or work on my charm and my charisma or my looks or my money. But then I thought when I got in a relationship, you know, I didn't have to do that anymore. Like, aren't we done doing that? Can't we just do this? And some people aren't inspired to keep being inspired to challenge themselves, and they keep wanting to stay in their comfort zone. And it is true, we all could have imagined, like, and we don't even realize this about ourselves probably till as we get older in life. We all had to do those moving forward things too when we were young, and we always could have all thought like, oh well, I'm gonna get in a relationship, get a job, and then that is kind of the dream that we had. But we had never been there, so we didn't really know that when we got there and we were doing that, that wasn't the end all be all. There was still more beyond that. There's still more to us becoming. And some people feel that way in relationships and they're still kind of motivated and inspired. They realize, to keep growing and healing and maturing themselves. And, maybe I want to switch careers. Maybe there's new things I've learned along the way that I didn't even know I liked. And now I maybe would like to go, that kind of really inspires me to kind of look at life differently in Aquarius energy of than in a way that I had before. I didn't even know that in Sagittarius that some of these things would motivate and inspire me. And then they're kind of excited to kind of take action on those things. And sometimes some of the other people in their life are like, what? Where are you going? What are you doing? Like, come back here. Let's keep doing this. This is what I thought we were going to do. And they reject the Ace of Pentacles and emotionally looking at life differently, because when we complete a phase of life, it is kind of like our intuition is telling us it's time to quit investing in this old pattern. There's some things that need to go, and it might be our fear and our immaturity and our ego that keeps us repeating that same pattern. But we kind of start to feel this pull like, gee, I feel like I'm not kind of emotionally growing and maturing myself. And I might see other people doing it. And I might see other people kind of being inspired to kind of try new things, do new things, um, have new interest in their life. And there might be something that, um, you know, again, if we listen to our intuition, it's just a normal process of life. But some people, the moon can talk about fear. Some people have a lot of fear of being inspired in their fire sign energy to do things different. That would be kind of outside my comfort zone. I haven't been there before. And then I would kind of have to look at these things of how I think, how I feel, how I viewed myself, how I viewed the world, how I viewed others, what I thought was just and fair, what my goals were, what I thought my truth was. And I'd maybe have to let go of some of those things because they kind of keep me stuck right here. I don't ever invest emotionally in being more inspired to put in work and effort to kind of work through that mental conflict that I have about maybe being more inspired by kind of living my more authentic life than letting my ego manipulate me or my other people in my life manipulate me. Because the 10 of Pentacles can also represent like friend and family groups. And just the world at large can kind of manipulate us. You should live your life like this. And this is what will make you look like victorious and successful in the world, or look like you have a certain status image in the world. And if you do that, you'll be happy. And some people, that does make them happy. For other people, it's like, oh my gosh, I just feel like it's so caught up in the illusion. And I feel like, shadowy energy can, the big picture kind of represented by the devil, these things that kind of limit us and restrict us and confine us and kind of make us feel imprisoned. And, the devil and the devil card in tarot, in a typical tarot, like Rider Waite deck, looks just like the lover's card. So there can be a lot of things we love about it, but in the devil card, they have chains and shackles on them, where I feel like I can't really live my more authentic life and truth from love, like this friend group or this family dynamic or this group or the world. If I keep letting that more manipulate me, I feel like I can't shine my authentic light or invest in my unique talent, skills, and interests, or things that I might really enjoy because those people don't enjoy it. And like, oh, well, you shouldn't go do that because we don't go do that. And you shouldn't kind of have more hope and faith and belief in your dreams because we gave up on our dreams a long time ago and we make our life about these things. And you should make your life about those things. And then high vibe energy is being more independent. Some people are just more codependent on friends and family and the world. And, then they do kind of make their life more about conforming to the world, conforming to what those people, how they live their life. And maybe they could feel that, if they were to be more independent and live their more authentic life, that some of the people in their life that they could have love for, that those people kind of would not want to invest in them anymore because you kind of saw through the illusion. You're different. You're living your life differently than we live our life. You seem to be more independent, not as manipulated by things that manipulate us. And they could have some people that Just like we cannot see how our own worldly, egoic, fearful, codependent energy kind of manipulates us, we can be in relationships with people who don't realize how their ego and people in their life and all these things manipulate them, and kind of we're ready to deal with the truth when we're ready. And Sagittarius can be about higher learning and education. And kind of when emotionally we kind of feel ready to be more authentic, stand up for ourselves, work through some of our fear and insecurity, we might do that. And we do look at life differently. And emotionally, we're kind of different because Scorpio energy talks about death and transformation. The person who we could have been at one time and things we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into that we thought were for sure was like living the dream or would make us happy or we're caught up in, we're not that same person anymore. And then we are kind of different from some other people. Just like, again, can we know people that are different? Can we get along with people who are different? Can you work with someone who's a 21-year-old and they're all caught up in the 21-year-old life? Or have people in your family that are? Yeah, and you can understand it. You've been there, you've done that. Do you want to keep hanging out with them on a regular basis or more and live life like that again? Like, no, I've already been there and done that. I've kind of moved on from that phase of life, but you go enjoy it. But sometimes we get in relationships with people and we don't realize that they still kind of created an illusion. And some people just create an illusion. They're willing to bring a dream into reality. And as long as the people that they're in relationship with keep thinking they're going to bring that dream into reality, and so long as that person isn't kind of seeing the truth that this person or that person is willing to move forward in something, but the intention is shadowy, then, hey, you know, life's all about coming in contact with all these different people, and partly to try to get us to learn to listen to our intuition, which was given to us as a gift to help us navigate in this world. But, again, pride comes before the fall, and we think we're so smart. And so sometimes we don't listen to our intuition. And there's some people right now that are in relationships with some people who could be kind of wearing a false mask, creating an illusion, being a little deceptive, manipulative, a little bit more about themselves in the relationship for ulterior purposes. And that person is going to get an education. And that person's going to have to, at some future point in time, some of them right now, wait a minute. I seem to be putting in work and effort to move this forward and bring this dream into reality, but you seem to not be doing that. And just like we can notice that in friendships and relationships, you know, employers and coworkers can notice that about other people that they work with. And, somebody could have had an education, somebody could have seemed motivated and inspired. And then it's more like, well, no, I wanted a job. But really putting in work and effort and being motivated and inspired to put in work and effort to be in like high vibe Leo, proud of myself and act with more character and integrity and be inspired to do it. No, I'm kind of someone who isn't it hard to relate to people who seem to get this false sense of like I'm powerful by look at me in this relationship or this friendship or this job, and I got these other people to believe that this, and these people are putting in a lot of work and effort and I'm just coasting, and it's this false sense of like cheating the justice system. Look, I'm not putting in the work and effort. Look, it's like I know people like that. And it's just like, what they don't get is they're shooting themselves in the foot. And I think one day they will realize that in the Seven of Swords. Thinking they were fooling everyone else, they did fool people for a while, but after a while, people do see the truth. And eventually, those people, Sagittarius energy is kind of represented by the Eight of Wands. Eventually, some of those people are like, yeah, I don't want to work with you anymore. People can be patient and loving and encouraging to people. That's kind of like the fire sign energy in the Taurus. You're my family member, you're my adult child, you're my parent. We've been friends for a long time, but if I'm or you're we work together, but there comes a point in time where people are like, because you were hoping that they would be inspired within themselves to kind of grow up. And when you see that they keep rejecting doing that, it's like, well, I'm going to be one of the next people in your life who is kind of done indulging you in your poor behavior. And I really don't care to spend much more time, energy, or effort with you because it's frustrating, you know? And eventually you see the truth that they're not motivated and inspired to kind of work together more cooperatively or grow up or mature themselves. And you decide, I'm done investing in them emotionally. Can I still work with them if I have to? Yes, but do I want to? No. If I have to, I will. But and then some of the people, shadowy energy can be, high vibe energy, and like in fire sign energy, like high vibe Leo and high vibe Virgo, uh, you're illuminated to the truth. And some people want to keep staying in denial of the truth. And then when people don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore, it's like, well, I don't understand why people don't want to be in a relationship with me. I'm smart, or I'm bright, or I have money, or I'm attractive, or I have ego or image or power or influence, or I'm just full of myself. And yeah, you don't get it. You don't get it. You know, this philosophy of being a little bit more about themselves or a lot more about themselves, they don't see that they're maybe more manipulative or deceptive or immature or bossy or controlling or full of themselves. And they're maybe they're gonna have to go out in the world and learn some more lessons in life. And for the people who are trying to repeat this a shadowy pattern with someone else, if I think eventually high vibe people in their life kind of work through the confusion. Gee, I thought you were this type of person, but as time went by, my intuition is kind of telling me that's not who you are. It does cause me mental conflict because I really thought that's who you were. But as time goes by, I keep seeing that's not who you are. And they kind of end up working through it and eventually they move on. And that's what some shadowy people don't get. And the people who are probably going to stay in a relationship with them are other people who are happy they think like that and live their life like that because they like to manipulate people like them for how it benefits them. They also have their own ulterior interest. There can be shadowy people in the world and they could think they're so smart. But what they don't know is there's other bigger fish in the sea that also know about people like them and like to be in relationship with people like them for their own more prideful, egotistical, materialistic, ego reasons. And they might get themselves caught up in a relationship with someone like themselves. And, if it's shadowy, which is represented by the devil, it's these things that kind of get a stranglehold on you. And it's hard to get out of it because they are more caught up by the illusion and how it looks and the money and the ego and the image And so they're kind of more tempted to stay in it for those reasons, even if it's someone or something they don't really aren't emotionally invested in or want to be invested in. But because, so then they kind of get stuck in something that's hard to get out of. It's hard for anybody to get out of something that in the 10 of Pentacles, in the 8 of Pentacles, in like the Star card, in the House and the Trumpet card, and the illusion that it looks really good by worldly standards, but there's something kind of wrong with it. And everybody has a hard time getting out of it, but they could have a harder time getting out of it than other people. And so then they just might stay in it. And then you've kind of lived your life being more deceived and manipulated and in your pride and your ego. Um, you know, not being in something that you really would like to be in, maybe always wanting to go invest in something else, but because of the illusion and that they keep staying in it, and high vibe energy is being free to live your authentic life in high vibe from love. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Gemini energy that they might not see coming? We have a card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Tower reversed. We can all have been caught up in the world. We can all have had fears and insecurities. We can all have had some things to work through, basically, in the Moon card. And it can talk about when we're kind of, which is probably the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're kind of really pretty fired up and caught up, and our philosophy of life is more about these things of the world that we want to manifest, that we are sure those are the things that will make us happy, and we're maybe not listening to our intuition, and we kind of get caught up in the illusion. And in our Gemini energy, we can be drawn and attracted to certain people because it's trying to get us to deal with some of these issues that manipulate us. And we might not be ready to be in relationships and friendships with people who are more loving and encouraging, that we could really have our dreams come into reality because we could have been more immature, they could have been more immature, and we didn't make those choices at that time because we had these lessons to learn in life. So we went kind of on that adventure, which Sagittarius energy is about going on this adventure to learn these lessons. Just like Aries energy in the Fool card is about going on these adventures to learn these lessons. And then we come in contact with all these different people to try to help us get more clear about what our truth is, what our truth isn't. We might repeat some old patterns because that's in our comfort zone. And we might be used to indulging ourself in our more immature nature, also might be used to indulging other people in relationships. And we get in those relationships until we kind of realize to start to emotionally grow and mature ourselves and invest in ourselves and believe that we do deserve love. And I don't want to repeat those old patterns. And then we do that work within ourselves to free ourselves from and see through some of these things that manipulate us. And then we're kind of inspired to move forward in life differently. And then we might kind of realize that, some of the people that I could have let go of were the people that were more aligned with my truth. And, next time I come around some people who are like that, if I can't reconcile with some of those people in friendships or whatever, I'm going to make sure that next time I am in relationships with people who do seem more insightful, stable, grounded, inspired, that I don't repeat an old pattern where I let my fear or my insecurity or wanting to stay in my comfort zone, because high vibe energy can challenge us. When we get in a relationship with someone where it seems like they need to heal and grow and mature themselves, we can grow and mature in that relationship, but we're not in a relationship with someone who's maybe more loving and encouraging of us and helping us grow and mature ourselves that way. We kind of grow and mature ourselves from a more negative influence. Um, and some people are realizing there's maybe some people in their life they don't want to let go of, or just realizing that. And if I did work with people who were more immature and deceptive or bossy or controlling or more materialistic or whatever, I'm not going to let that destabilize me and make me kind of give up on myself or give up on my dreams. I just see the truth that I need to let go of them, because so the tower can talk about that it wasn't a stable, secure environment anyway. And you kind of see the truth about what their truth is, what could have driven and motivated you to be and drawn and attracted to some of those people that was kind of not seeing the truth of. Regardless of what it is, you're not going to let anybody kind of destabilize you. That's high vibe Seven of Swords. In a typical Seven of Swords card, they're holding the five swords. The five, the six, and the seven is Aquarius energy. They're holding the five swords, and in the Two of Swords, they're listening to their intuition. I'm going to keep holding on to my dreams. I'm not going to let go of my dreams. I just see the truth that some of the people I invested in, maybe at one time we seem to be on the same page, but maybe they kind of, at any given moment, there's no guarantees in life. God knows the truth about what really emotionally drives and motivates people. And they might have had some lessons learned. They weren't really ready to move forward, and you were ready to move forward in life differently. And so then it can be this really disruptive thing. And when a card is in reverse, it could mean that you could have seen that some people were very unstable. And some people could have acted in some very shadowy, deceptive, bossy, controlling, manipulative ways of being with you and not investing emotionally, inspired by love. And you work through the illusion of it. I used to view them as maybe a stable, just, fair, loving, nurturing person, but they're not acting that way. And, at any given moment, people can start to drive their life off into the ditch. Maybe it was never the truth of who they were to begin with. And, it was requiring them to do some of this inner work to grow up and mature themselves. And it's like, nope, I'll just go find someone else to get in a relationship with. I'll create an illusion with someone who doesn't know the truth about me emotionally. That I might be a little more stubborn or a little bit more about myself or kind of full of myself or kind of deceptive and manipulative or just more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship for the status and the ego and the image. And I don't really want to do, and I'm not inspired by a dream of love, because that just might not be how I want to live my life. I don't really, Scorpio energy can be about exploring the mysteries of life. And we're emotionally complex human beings. And some people are like, yeah, that's confusing. I'm not, I'm not going to even get to know myself emotionally, much less for anybody else to get to know me emotionally. I'll just use my emotions more superficially as I need to. And again, I'll use my sexuality and my charms and my words and my money and my body and all these other things. That'll be good enough for someone. Just wasn't good enough for some other people. And you saw the truth of it. And you're not unstable. You saw the truth. You detached from the people you needed to detach from. And because of that, what you don't see coming is that you freed yourself from something that at one time within yourself you kind of harnessed in a more worldly, shadowy way, and you detach from that. And when you detach from it, you detach from the people in your life that you kind of were aligned with to some degree because of this energy. And what some people don't know about you is you now harness it in a high vibe way. The Three of Pentacles in reverse. So the Three of Pentacles is Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is represented by the devil. So, you are more caught up in your worldly nature. And high vibe Capricorn is freeing yourself from things that used to manipulate you. And so when you did that, you also freed yourself from people who, caught up in this kind of some of the same things you were to different degrees. And now, I would say with the Three of Pentacles in reverse, you're less aligned. Capricorn, kind of like Taurus and Virgo, is earth sign energy. In your what and also Capricorn can be about what we view as victorious and successful. You're less inspired by what people from a worldly perspective, like, well, you should do this and you should do that and you should look like this and you should wear this and you should date this person or just get in a relationship with someone because it'll make you look like victorious and successful or whatever. I don't want to get in relationships for those reasons. And I don't want to wear those things or act that way or be friends with those people or dress a certain way or blah, 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 blah. I'm just not as caught up in the illusion. I just want to go live my authentic life. And as some people who did know you just think you're creating an illusion. You're just trying to create an illusion just like they are. You just could be, they just think you're maybe creating a better illusion than they are. And they don't know how you're doing it. And it's like, it's because I'm not creating an illusion. I'm really have freed myself from things that used to manipulate me, and I'm just inspired to go live my authentic life and go enjoy my life. And I don't really care if I'm taking action from truth and love, treating other people the way I like to be treated, being authentic and loving and encouraging. There's going to be people in the world who don't want to invest in me because that's not their truth. Well, you're not more about these things, and you're not caught up in this, and I can't try to manipulate or control you or tempt you in your more immature, egoic nature. I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I'm going to go find other people to hang out with. It's like, and I'm fine with that. And I'm going to go work with the people in the world who I think are more not that. And I think as you do that, it really could be shocking to some people because everybody can have illusions about who they think people are, and if certain things were to happen in their life, what action they think they'd go take. And some people can really be shocked that you're not who they thought they were. And maybe some people who thought they could manipulate you or make you drive your life off into the ditch could be really shocked that their shadowy ways of being didn't work. And other people never viewed you that way to begin with. And as you're moving forward in life, some people could view you as a very stable, grounded, not unstable, and someone who kind of inspires them to believe in themselves and believe in their dreams. And some of those people maybe like you are doing this work within themselves to think about why are they more manipulated by these things of the world. you know what's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Gemini energy that they might not see coming. Oh, And what some people don't know is you don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. Some of the people, again, they're kind of full of themselves. And if you quit investing in them and moved on, they could think, oh, I'm sure they'll get caught up in their head. They won't love and believe in themselves. I'm sure they'll come back and want to do the relationship the way I want to do it. And some of those people haven't realized, well, they're not maybe putting in work and effort to grow and mature themselves or make an offer to you to work together with you to bring a dream into reality. Well, they're not doing that. You are doing this work within yourself. And some of you have completed that work within yourself. And while you're doing what you're doing and they're doing what they're doing, it helps you more clearly work through the fact that they're not who you thought they were. And you don't want to be in a relationship with them anyway. They just don't know it. And by the time you move forward and keep moving forward and working with other people, they could end up realizing the only person they were deceiving and manipulating was themselves. So what's coming up for the shadowy people that they don't see coming? A card not seeing, showing itself because of the King of Swords in reverse. So the shadowy people keep not wanting to deal with the truth. And in high vibe fire sign energy also, which is Leo energy, not wanting to illuminate the truth with the King of Swords in reverse. I don't have to illuminate the truth. I don't have to be more just and fair. You know, and they kind of have this upside down. I view the King of Swords as Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. They kind of have this like distorted view of what they think is just and fair. But other people, you know, some people in their life agree with them, but some other people in their life don't agree with them. But other people, again, can get caught up in the illusion and they're living their life that way too, and caught up in the illusion of who they are and who they are. And what they don't see coming, they could think they're going to get justice, but it's not going to be what they think, because it's like trying to cheat the justice system without being just and fair and authentic and loving and treating other people the way you like to be treated. But they think they're going to reap the same harvest as like people who do put in work and effort, inspired by truth and love. And they don't realize they're not going to get the justice they think they're going to get. They're going to get the illusion of justice. It might look, by worldly standards, victorious and successful and abundant, but the people who eventually end up staying in a relationship with them are more inspired by these things of the world, and they might think some of the people that they're aligning with have their best interest at heart, but some of those people don't, because some of those people are the people who are trying to confuse them and manipulate them and tempt them in their lust and greed or pride or ego. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You know, it's kind of like the devil lies. And they think it's all going to work out. No, I can do this and this and this. I'm sure it'll all work out. That's kind of shadowy energy of, I think I don't have to do that. I think I can control things. And I think I can get that without really having to be more authentic, more just or fair, more authentic, truthful, and I still think I can get what I want. But I think high vibe people that have been in their life trying to work together with them to bring justice to a situation, some of those people are done and they're going to leave their life and they're going to quit talking to them, not invested in them anymore. Why? Because unbeknownst to them, while they were doing whatever they were doing, some of the high vibe people in their life did some work within themselves. Ten of Swords, Gemini energy. Not willing to stay in relationships with people who, just in their Gemini energy of free will and what their truth is, finally kind of seeing through the illusion, your idea of the dream life and what you want to invest your time, energy, and effort into, and how you want this to move forward, but your truth that drives and motivates it, that's different than my truth. And I didn't want to see the truth because I wanted it to work out, or you're my friend, or you're my family member. But I finally see the truth, and I'm not willing to backstab or keep being backstabbed or keep staying in relationships with people who aren't willing to tell the truth, aren't willing to be just and fair, aren't willing to close out a cycle. Because again, the Ten of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles talks about closing out a cycle and becoming independent from an old cycle or codependency, because sometimes, again, either the world, friends, family members that they're more codependent on, or their ego, or their defensive nature, their immature nature, whatever. And some other people in their life are like, I haven't wanted to end this, but by staying in it, I feel backstabbed and betrayed. And I don't think my dream is going to come into reality. And I have to see the truth of it. And I finally accept the truth of it. And I'm done. And I'm done feeling backstabbed and betrayed. I'm done with the illusion. I'm done trying to get other people to change. You can do your life the way you want. I've realized this is not my truth. You keep showing me this is your truth and this is how you want to live your life. That's not my truth. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to listen to my intuition. I'm going to quit investing in some people. I'm going to be inspired to put in the work and effort to work through the emotional confusion of it, the mental confusion of it. I am inspired to change. And then it lets them have the free will to do whatever they want. And the shadowy people probably have been showing them, I'm not willing to close out a cycle. I am not willing to speak the truth. I am not willing to be more just and fair. I am more inspired by however I've been living my life, and that's how I want to keep moving forward. That's my truth. And the other people are like, go ahead then. And ultimately, what they don't see coming is that the people, whatever they align themselves with that's more shadowy, that they haven't been wanting to see the truth of, doesn't have their best interests, because they're not aligning within themselves to grow up and mature themselves and heal and temper their more prideful, egotistical, or defensive nature. And the people in their life are happy they don't. And they might be caught up in some illusions about people that they're more aligned with and think those people have their best interests at heart. And at some future point in time, they're going to find out maybe that people weren't telling them the truth. People were lying. People were creating an illusion. Well, I didn't want you to be more independent. I didn't want you to love and believe in yourself. I didn't want you to live your life differently than I lived my life. This is how I live my life, and I wanted my dream to come into reality with you, but maybe I don't love you. It's more for the ego or the image. And, players get played. and and then still, they probably won't be willing to get out of it because they're so manipulated by these things of the world. It has the things of the world that they want. The status, the ego, the image, or because they were deceptive and manipulative, now they have to keep investing in an illusion they created, and they're too prideful to get out of it. So the very thing they could have done to try to manipulate and control other people thinking those people wouldn't love and believe in themselves because they created an illusion of how wonderful this was. Now they got to stay in it, even though it could be something that is not aligned with their truth at all. But it's more important to create this illusion that I got it going on in the world. Guess that that's what they find victorious and successful. That's how they'll choose to live their life. And other people weren't willing to do that. I'm going to go live my life. I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to take action in my truth. I am not going to live a life of illusion, and the world can judge away. I had some growing up and maturing to do. I was caught up in some things. You know, people can relate to that. It's being truthful and honest and being a fallible human being. But some people are too prideful to admit that they made mistakes in life, so they will stubbornly refuse to admit they made mistakes, and they just keep moving forward with it, even if they don't want to. So there you go. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.